Hi, welcome to On Scene with TFD. I'm Mike Bellamy, your host and Public Information Officer for the Tallahassee Fire Department. Firefighters respond to thousands of emergency calls each year in our area. Today's show will focus on important life safety and fire prevention topics to help greatly reduce the chances of you or your family becoming a victim. Now let's meet our first guests, Battalion Chief Gene Sanders and Division Chief Bill Eckwall. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, today's show is going to incorporate a lot of life safety tips. Before we get into that, I want you to talk a little bit about the division that you are over.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Division is the Fire Department, the Fire Prevention Division of TFD. It consists of two separate sections that we have. The first section would be the uniform section that we have. We actually have lieutenants that go out and perform inspections, and they do businesses, local businesses, and also commercial inspections. We have also the battalion chief who is in charge of that section. The second section is over in our plans review, and that's where new construction comes over. When you do a permitting for new construction, we have a site review. We have also a building review that does all the safety devices within the building, and then of course we have an inspector that goes out and makes sure that building is built to code.
So, the fire department's not in the business of just responding to emergencies as they occur, putting the fire out, going back to the firehouse and shutting the door. Your division is charged with going out and connecting with the community and pushing out a lot of prevention so that these emergencies never occur in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
It's quite a task you have. Some of the programs that are in place right now, I think are wonderful, and I want to spend a little time talking about that. Chief, what programs are we currently working on to push out to the public?
Well, currently we have the smoke detector smoke alarm program.
Smoke alarm.
Smoke alarm program. And it's for low income and elderly citizens, and we'll go out and look at the structure and figure out where we think is the best place to put smoke alarms. We also have the in-home safety survey, and we use our suppression people to go out and do that as well. So they can go out and do a smoke alarm, and they'll walk through and give you some general tips for fire safety, look at some things in your home that maybe you could change to make your home safer.
Now, Chief, how many alarms are we doing a year? Do we keep track of how many that we actually are able to give out?
Right. Typically, as Chief said, they actually call in, and request these alarms, and it is for, low-income and elderly people that call this. Typically, it's anywhere between 90 to 100 per year that we install. And again, the crews do go out, and while they're there, they do perform that home safety survey, and they do interact with the community. So it's kind of nice to see that the firefighters come and they can actually bring the big truck and see what's in your house, and see if you have anything that we need to address for your safety.
And I understand that some of that, or maybe even all of that, funding comes from some grants. How does that work?
Right. Well, typically the program we have in place now is funded through the fire department. We actually use it in our budget that we get from that. We're trying to get more grants to enhance that kind of funding, and we've been very successful this year, and we received a grant from FEMA. And with that grant, we're going to try to get in collaboration with a successful program within the city called REACH. Now, this program will go out and they send auditors to your home, and they do a safety check for your energy audit and tell you ways that they can increase, for energy efficiency. Now, we can partner with them so we can actually add fire devices and safety devices in their home at that time.
That sounds good.
So we're very excited about that.
That sounds like a good partnership. Now, we also have at least two big events annually. One of those is Arson Awareness Week. Chief Sanders, tell me a little bit about Arson Awareness Week.
Well, Arson Awareness Week is normally in the spring, and it's just teaching fire safety. And also being aware of arson and trying to reduce it. And each year there's a different theme.
Okay, so they have like a topic, a main idea.
Right, and then departments throughout the country, hone in on that particular subject, and that's the message we put out, safe behaviors and whatever that particular theme is for that year. Going into Prevention Week, which is normally later in the year.
We're doing, let's see, what I saw it the other day. It's something.
Right. It's Fire Prevention Week. It's called Reducing Kitchen Fires.
That's what it was, okay.
And that's going to be the national theme for that. And we're very excited about that because, as you know, kitchen fires are probably the #1 cause of all our residential house fires.
Yeah, that's going to be
just got to get that message out, right? And it's a huge campaign. We're going to have actual go to Walmarts, things like that, and distribute different information to the public about that. So.
Now, with Arson Awareness Week, we're partnering with other agencies. Who do we partner with Arson Awareness Week?
The State Fire Marshal's Office.
Okay.
And normally we get together and, it's various things. And like I said, it's throughout the country. For us, we did a press conference and we brought in other agencies. We brought in State Fire Marshal's Office, of course, with us. Other law enforcement agencies throughout the county, they also came in to support us through that event.
And then Fire Prevention Week, same thing. Do we partner with the national group, the NFPA, or?
Yeah, NFPA, and again with the Fire Marshal's Office on the inspection side. Fire Prevention Week, it started back in the 1800s after the Great Chicago Fire, where they lost a lot of life. And they decided at that point we need to start teaching safe behaviors, and they developed their annual campaign. And our position on that is, if you know better, you do better. Absolutely.
It's we don't stop often enough and think about life safety and fire safety,
Right.
and we've got to push that out and incorporate that into the everyday life of our community.
Right.
Are there other programs, or other places, websites? What type of other material is out there for our local community?
Well, of course, we do station tours. We also will go out to your location to do a display. To set those things up, you can go to the website, the city's website, and go to the department's page, and there's a form there. It's a PDF form, and you fill it out for a speaker request. And at that point, we try to contact whoever's calling within a day or so and set up a tour or display, whichever it is. And also, that's how you set up a home safety survey and as well.
Yeah, I noticed that being at the station recently, there's been a lot of tours coming through, a lot of groups coming through. Mm-hmm. Chief, did you have something you wanted to add?
That's just talking about the station tours, things like that. That's a great vehicle that we have to do, and we probably do anywhere from 200 to 300 different station tours a year for schools, things like that. And going to your homes and asking for the surveys and stuff, we also bring brochures with us when we come. Mm-hmm. We give you electrical safety, kitchen safety, how to use a fire extinguisher, just all kind of different information that we can bring with us to give you.
Yeah, and I know recently when the city has provided some sort of, whether it was a budget outreach or something at the senior center, we would actually go and take our display board and have an inspector mm-hmm. there to sort of interact with the community. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a great a program or programs that we're providing. I think this gives an opportunity for the community to see some of those things, and we're actually going to, on the next segment, bring in a couple of our inspectors, and we're going to get into some of the specific tips and things that people need to be aware of, and particularly this time of year where we see an increase in the number of fires with heating in the winter season. So I'd like to thank both of you for being here. I know you're both busy. We'll definitely pick up after the break and continue the topic.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Stick around. When we come back, you're going to meet a couple of our life safety inspectors on scene with TFD.
Hey, let me help you with that there, Sparky. Sparky the dog wants to remind you that when you change your clocks, change the battery in your smoke alarms. Speaking of which, when was the last time you tested the battery in your smoke alarm? At least once a month, push the button on your smoke alarm to make sure it's working properly. Remember, test alarms for life.
Hello, I'm Mike Terhune with the Tallahassee Fire Department. Did you know the chance of fires caused by candles greatly increase during the winter months? Please take care when using candles in the home. Keep lit candles out of reach of children and pets. And remember, never leave lit candles unattended in the home. When you go out,
For more life-saving tips, visit the Fire Department's website at talgov.com.
Welcome back to On Scene with TFD. I'm Mike Bellamy. Before the break, we were talking with Division Chief Bill Eckwall and Battalion Chief Gene Sanders about some of the fire safety programs offered by TFD. Now I want to introduce you to two guests who are life and fire safety inspectors for TFD and are going to tell us a little bit about some of the things we need to know about around our home and around the community. Lieutenant Kathy Golke and Lieutenant Mark Evans, thanks for joining me.
It's nice to be here.
Same here.
We got a great show today. I think it's probably one of the most important topics that we'll cover on scene with TFD here, life safety, fire safety, and we're going to jump right in. I think we're going to move through the home, and if we're looking at the first thing to me is in and out of your home, your entrances and your exits. Mark, why is that important?
Well, that would be your lifeline. It's important in case of fires. You don't want to have trip hazards. You don't want to have your exits blocked. You always want to be able to get in and out in case of emergency.
Yeah, I mean, I know sometimes when we're out there, whether you're responding to an emergency call, and you've seen it, people will put boxes in front of their doors. They'll put a desk up against the door. We encourage that people don't do this.
Exactly. Not only the doors, your windows. You put, dressers and mirrors in front of windows. At night, late at night, sometimes we might have house fires, and that might be your exit. So you don't want to put things in front of your window. You want to kind of keep those clear as well.
We see 166 deaths annually directly result of candle fires. What do we need to know about being safe with candles?
Well, candles, it's good if they're on like maybe a glass dish, or a lot of them come in glass containers, which is good. But if you do have it on a dish, you still want to be a little more aware of what's around it. So there's a clearance of about 12 inches around it. You don't want to have any combustibles. Paper, usually they're on a desk or a table. Usually some papers hanging around. So you kind of want to keep that area clear, because something could blow it up on there. Kids, the dog could knock it over, a cat can knock it over, and it would catch fire. So we do have a lot of fires with candles. Actually, one last week we did have one, a house fire.
I noticed in the store the other day, they're selling a electric candle. You put a battery in it, and it has a little LED light that flickers, and it looks just like a candle. That'd probably be a great alternative to a candle, wouldn't it?
It sure would. It sure would.
Absolutely.
The kitchen safety. We were talking about fire prevention theme this year is talking about being safe in the kitchen. Now we could probably spend an entire hour just talking about kitchen safety, but it's important because that's where most of the fires occur in a home, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Food on the stove, people cooking, unattended cooking. A lot of times we cook and we have kids, and they're a distraction. One of them's got to go potty or whatever. You got to go run to it, and then when you're done with that, you forget that you actually were cooking, or you turn the stove on. I'm guilty of that myself. I put stuff on the stove, walked outside, and 20 minutes later I remembered. Luckily, I've caught it before something bad has happened.
Right.
Just get overwhelmed, doing house cleaning around the house and trying to start dinner. It's a great time to put a timer on, to remind you, that you left food on the stove or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We all get caught in, get caught up doing things like that, yard work, putting stuff on. Just try to attend and cook while you have nothing else to do.
That's a great point. Absolutely. What about the dryer, the clothes dryer? We've responded to quite a bit of those emergencies. What would you tell people to be safe with their clothes dryer?
Well, the clothes dryer, first of all, don't overload it. Second of all, every load, clean the filter, because that gets built up, and lint is highly flammable. So another important thing that just probably nobody does, or a lot of people don't do, is cleaning the ductwork that goes from the dryer to the outside of your house. A lot of times lizards and rats, they take up residency in there, they build nests, it gets clogged. That causes the dryer to work harder, gets overheated, starts a fire. So those vents, they need to be cleaned, at least once a year, if not more. It gets damp in there, and it starts to compact.
And I always encourage people not to, leave dryers unattended as well. We try to dry clothes while we go to work, or we go to school, or go to bed at night. I like to dry or encourage people to do that while you're up and around in case something starts burning.
That's
you can
a
smell
great
it.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. And if your dryer's not drying clothes,
Absolutely.
something's wrong. Either and there's a good chance that your vent may be clogged.
Correct.
What about electrical fires? If anybody who reads the newspaper, watches the news, sees that a large number of fires that we respond to are a result of electrical fires. Mark, how is that related to fire safety?
Electrical fires mostly start with overloading of circuits. People want to use extension cords for permanent wiring. You don't want to do that as well. If you're going to use extension cords for a short period of time, or you want to use their surge protectors, they're the little buttons that go on and off. In case there is an overload, it would trip the breaker off. During,
we're getting into the season, we're heating season, and then you have the holidays, and a lot of people string the lights together, or they plug major appliances in. Maybe they're bringing in another crock pot into the kitchen to cook again, and they're running extension cords. I noticed that's an important message that we're pushing out, is to never plug major appliances into these extension cords. What about the decorations?
Decoration, you don't want to leave that going all the time. They'll plug it up, pretty much, and go to bed. You don't want to never do that as well. You want to pretty much use, common sense. We say common sense, but a lot of people just get overjoyed around that time. Too many lights into one outlet. You don't want to do that as well.
We're talking about 3 strands, I think, right? Is that what they're telling us
Exactly.
now?
3 strands is probably the maximum any of those is good for. You're just overloading it if you have more than that. Some people have big trees. They're pre-lit. They're made for that, but usually you're just going to have like the 3 or less.
The smoke alarms, we've covered that. We've touched on that a little bit today. How important are smoke alarms, having those in your home installed properly?
Very important. You want to have one in the hallway or in every bedroom. That's going to be your first alarm. If the fire starts, smoke get filled up, and that will awaken you or alarm you that something is going on. So that's very vital.
Another thing important about smoke detectors is to change a battery. We kind of get complacent. We find a lot of house fires. We have to do investigations, and we do find that the smoke detectors don't even have a battery. They're near the kitchen, you're cooking toast, they go off, and people take them out, and they forget to put them back in. So that's real important, make sure there is a battery. And also, smoke detectors do get old. After so many years, they do need to be replaced.
Yeah, the smoke alarms are not effective if they're not working.
Exactly.
And we have a lot of, we'd go out on service calls and see smoke alarms that weren't working, or bring it to the attention of the occupants, and it's always like a wake-up call for them, because you have that false sense of security when you see the smoke alarm. You see it every day. It looks like you're being protected,
Right.
But it is important every so often to push that button. You can just hold it down, and if it beeps, it's working. If it doesn't, it's not.
And if it's chirping, something is wrong.
If something is wrong, it doesn't mean
Exactly.
take the battery out
Exactly.
and walk away from it. Well, will you both stick around for another segment?
Sure.
Exactly.
We have a lot of topics to cover.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll talk more about life and fire safety around your home and around the community. Stick around.
I miss eating dinner with my family in our own kitchen.
550 children in Tallahassee are missing the simple joys of being a kid.
I miss having my own bed. I miss having our own house.
550 kids missing the simple comfort of having a place to call home. Join the Change for Change program by simply adding a monthly contribution to your city utility account. For the cost of just a gallon of milk, you can help all our kids enjoy the simple, extraordinary things about just being a kid.
Imagine a landscape of distinct natural beauty, a place where bees and butterflies move among the blossoms and birds find food and shelter, where plants can thrive on rainfall and native soil and fertilizers and pesticides are almost unheard of. Now, imagine this place is your own Florida home. Visit plantrealflorida.org and learn how to add native plants to your landscape and bring home the beauty of the real Florida.
My mommy taught me to count. 1, 2, 3.
Character isn't developed overnight. It starts when children are small, from birth to 5. What you as a parent do now will have a profound impact on the men and women your children will become. Think about that. You are your child's first teacher, and the Early Learning Coalition is here to help. To find out how the Early Learning Coalition can support you in your role as a parent, call us at 385-0504 or visit us on the web at www.elcbigbend.org.
Hi, I'm Mike Bellamy. Welcome back to On Scene with TFD. Before the break, we were talking about some life safety tips to help keep you and your family safe. We're going to continue that discussion right now with Lieutenant Galkey and Lieutenant Evans. Thanks for joining me again. When we left, we were talking about some of the important things inside the home that we need to be considering. And one of the things that I want to lead off with in this segment is EDITH. And I doubt there's many folks out there that know what EDITH is, do they? Mark, what's EDITH?
It stands for Emergency Drills in the Home, and it is a good exit drills in the home for you to have an exit plan. I like to tell people to have an exit plan and have a location. Tell your kids you play like you practice. You know, just have a plan to meet at a tree, meet at a neighbor's house in the case of an emergency, in case of a fire or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. We did one at the house, and the smoke alarm went off the other day in the kitchen, and I turned around and my son was out there under the cherry tree. You know,
Good deal.
I couldn't figure out where he was, but I had to explain to him that the smoke alarm in the kitchen at my house goes off quite a bit. So what about some other things we need to think about? It's storm season, and it seems like we have a thunderstorm come through almost year round. People use generators a lot. Kathy, what do folks need to know about generators?
Well, for one, don't store your generator in the house. If you are going to use it, make sure you don't overload it. You know, it can only run so many appliances. You want to make sure if you have to shut it down to add fuel, you want to make sure it's cool, because if it's too hot, it's going to catch fire, and that's just going to add to your problem that you already have.
Right.
So.
And a lot of people I noticed try to backfeed them into their home. So that they can power their home. That's something that you only want to allow an electrician to come and do.
Exactly.
Right. I think the city would have to cut your, disconnect it somehow for you to do that. You can get a bad electrical shock if you're going to mess around with that.
Yeah, and you can actually
electricity.
You can actually cause damage to the system, and you could also injure an electrical worker if he was out working on the lines.
You want to also put a carbon monoxide detector in your home if you're going to have one of those generators near.
That's smart. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next topic, we're looking at something that's really important that I think not only firefighters have an obligation, but parents have an obligation, and that's fire safety with kids. What types of things can we be talking about with our children about fire safety?
Well, there's many topics, because kids under 5, they like to discover new things, and they play with lighters. Most of the fires that are started in the house or on a mattress with a kid with a lighter. So you need to just have those talks with the kids, let them know how important it is for them not to play with it if they find one to give it to you. There's many things you can talk to your kids about, just the general safety in the home. One was the EDITH, the exit drills. Make sure they're aware of, just the dangers of fire and lighters and things like that.
One of the stats, Mark, that impressed me was over 60% of all the arson was tied back to children that were under the age of 6.
Right.
And that kind of speaks volumes. What is arson and children? How does that tie in? That's almost a curiosity issue, isn't it?
Exactly. They make the lighters look like little cars and everything else, and it's supposed to be childproof. I don't think there's such things as childproof, because kids going to find a way to play with lighters or whatever. We got to encourage our kids and teach them not to play with lighters. If you see another child or your siblings playing with a lighter, go get an adult. Don't try to take it from them. A lot of them get in closets and whatever and start playing with them, start a fire, and they panic. So we have to teach them. We can never tell them enough, not to play with lighters, not to play with matches. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, we were out the other day on a walk, and my son actually brought me one. He found one in the yard, right? And so he runs to me and gives it to me, and it's broken. But, I'm thinking to myself, wow, we talked about that a year or two ago, and that stuck with him. And so that's important. Costumes, Halloween, anytime of different holidays throughout the year. What about costumes and kids?
Well, a lot of those fabrics that you make make at home, make costumes at home. They're flammable, so, and a lot of kids will carry flashlights and stuff. Just want to make sure that your Halloween's going to be safe. Like I said, make them carry a flashlight. Those the costumes, they're kind of baggy and saggy. The kids are going to trip over them. Some of them have funny shoes. They're really not practical. So try to pick a practical costume for your child.
And also with the jack-o'-lanterns, the candles and the jack-o'-lanterns. I try to encourage people not to do that as well. Kids coming in and out your house trick-or-treating, costumes fitting loosely like Lieutenant Goki says, and they're draping over and might catch fire. And we try to teach them about the stop, drop, and roll. They come to the fire stations and around. That's very important as well. If your clothing do catch fire, stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, we've done a good job over the decades, really, of teaching kids about stop, drop, and roll. It seems like almost all the children we talk to at these public displays, they always know that, and it's, we need to continue to do that with all the other topics.
Exactly.
We're going to move into another topic, that's smoking. Fires caused by smoking, careless smoking. This is, I think, it's one of the leading causes of fire deaths, isn't it?
Yes.
How can we prevent that?
Well, you don't want to try to smoke. We come in from a long day's work, and lots of people go to sleep with cigarettes in their hand or fall asleep with it in the bed. I've had a couple of instances where, the elderly, they kind of dementia, got some things setting on, and they'll go to the back room, forget that they were smoking, and have a couple of house fires of that sort. So you want to try to encourage everyone to, if you're going to smoke, do it while you go outside and make sure it's put out in an ashtray or whatever.
Have a cup of sand or
Exactly.
some water or something like that they can extinguish it. And we've actually had some pretty sad stories here. It seems like in the last couple of years with people losing everything, just maybe even on the back deck where they put it out and it fell through the cracks of the back deck.
Exactly.
It definitely seems like it doesn't go away.
Exactly.
Where can we find out, where can citizens and parents find out more about different fire safety topics? Where's a good resource for them?
They can go to nfpa.org, or they can visit our city website and go to fire, our fire website. We have information on there. We also have information at our front office in fire prevention. We have pamphlets. We try to give those out to businesses and to residents that request them. There's a lot of great information that we can share with them.
Exactly.
Right, and if they go online, I know nfpa.org and the National Fire Protection Agency, they actually have some customized flyers and leaflets and things that if you're a preschool teacher or you're an educator, you can actually print those out free of charge. You can put your business logo on it, your company logo on it, and you can get it out there and disseminate it to the parents. And that's something we encourage folks to do.
Yeah, it is good. A lot of parents, they're busy working, they don't have time, but if it comes home with the child, they usually read it.
Right,
So
they will. They'll see it and focus on it. And the kids are good. The kids take it all in. They really do. And I think it's a lesson that is going to save a life. That's the bottom line. All these fires we talk about, we can prevent. Most all these fires that we respond to and the tragedy we see, we can prevent. Well, I really want to thank you both for being here. I know you're both very busy. You're probably heading out to some inspections when you leave here, I'm sure.
Exactly.
So thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
Okay, well, thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you much for having me.
As you can see, there are many considerations when we look at keeping our community and our own families safe. Today, we hope we have provided you with the tools you need to be well on your way. I'm Mike Bellamy. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Scene with TFD.
Thank you.